Welcome to Our College Your Voices. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. I am really excited today to have the STAND group back with us. We met them first in episode 46 when they introduced what they were doing on the Madison campus. And today we talked just after that episode about trying to get them back onto the show to let you hear what it's like to use a screen reader and to understand some of the challenges that they face as they're navigating different documents here at Ivy Tech and different web pages and things. So I'm excited to have the whole STAND crew back with us, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So I'm going to start the opposite direction we went before. So Jaden Rudd. Hi, Jaden. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am all right. Jaden, can you remind us what you're studying here at Ivy Tech?
General studies. I wanted to learn a little bit about everything.
Excellent. Very good. It's great to, and I can see you today. We're doing this by Zoom, so I can see all of you today. So it's great to see you today. And next up is Andy Heisel. Hi, Andy.
Hello. I am an alumni here. I got my computer science degree back in 2003, and I'm here to help the group with different types of things, such as different methods of helping students that have any type of impairment work their way through college.
Excellent. It's great to talk to you again, Andy. And then finally, Johnny Estep. Hi, Johnny.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Good. And Johnny, remind us what you're studying here at Ivy Tech.
I'm actually studying criminal justice. This is actually my last semester for criminal justice, and I'll be graduating, if all goes well, in May. So I'm excited about that.
Excellent.
But of course, I'll be back. I'll be starting a new degree in the fall semester.
Wonderful.
We'll study psychology to
Excellent.
Just kind of open up more options for me. Because obviously, being visually impaired, there's a lot of jobs that I can't do in criminal justice,
Right.
So, but I'm glad to be here with everybody, regardless. It's always, a fun experience.
And then joining you today are two of the staff members that support you there on campus. Tim Renners. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Dr. Monroe.
How are you?
Good. How are you today?
I'm all right. I think Tim wasn't expecting me to introduce him, but I'm going to have him talk a little bit anyway. Tim, can you tell us a little bit about what you do? I know you have a lot of different hats at the Madison campus. Can you talk about a little bit about what you do at the Madison campus?
I'm a library director. I'm the Disability Support Services Coordinator and the Tutoring Center Manager as well.
Excellent. It's great to have you on today, Tim. And Nina Alcorn. Hi, Nina.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good. You and Tim both thought you'd get to just sit in the shadows and not have to talk, but that's not how it goes. Nita, would you remind our listeners what your role is at the Madison campus, please?
Sure. I have a career development hat as well as a student support hat. So through my student support hat, I help students just navigate different issues that might come up, barriers, whether they're academic or non-academic, which is kind of how I was brought on board to support this STAND group.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you to both you and Tim for joining us today. To all of you, we're going to talk a little bit and demonstrate some assistive software later in the show. And the tool that we're going to use is called JAWS. So could you talk a little bit about what JAWS is and what it does for a person who's visually impaired?
Yep, I'm going to let Andy start off.
Yeah, JAWS is a screen reader that basically reads the information that's on the computer screen. It puts it into voice text where a student who's visually impaired can tell what is on the screen.
There's a whole lot of, different things you can do with JAWS, but that is the basis of what it does. It's audio.
Okay. And I know that there are other screen reading tools out there. I know JAWS is sort of it's known as the gold standard. Are there other tools that the three of you use to help you with your coursework that are considered assistive technology, or might be technology that today computers and phones and things are becoming much more friendly to all users? They're much more close to universally designed. Other things that you use frequently?
I think what we could do is start with Jaden here for a minute, and because she uses something totally different than what I use. And then if we look at, what does someone use outside of college as far as how would they read their mail? How would they do that stuff? We could jump to Andy again and let him talk about the program that he uses. So Jaden, you want to talk about your program, the program you use for your magnifying or whatever the case is?
Sure. So for me, I just use Zoom, which allows the print to be enlarged so I can actually see what I'm trying to do and not do something I don't want to do. So that really helps a lot. And then here at Ivy Tech, I use Zoom text as well. But on that one, I can customize colors, which me personally, I don't do. But what I do is just, again, have it enlarged to make it easier on my eyes, to make it easier to read and get my work accomplished.
And then, Andy, you want to tell?
Yeah, the program that I use is called Seeing AI. It was developed by Microsoft. And basically what it does, it takes the camera on your phone, and you can hold your phone up like this, straight up above a document, such as like a print document, and it will read what is on the page.
Oh, outstanding. I didn't know that existed.
Yep.
Have you used that for mail, Andy?
Yeah, I work for anything, any type of print document.
So a magazine article or a piece of physical mail or something like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it will read it.
Excellent.
And you don't have to take a picture. It just uses the video imaging and use the information that way.
And I think even with something like that, it just introduces a different level of freedom.
Right.
For someone that normally you had to go to someone, hey, can you read this for me? Read this mail. And, as an adult, we don't want to share our mail with everybody all the time.
Right.
Seeing AI is actually a free app. It was developed by Microsoft to work on some of their artificial intelligence.
Oh, is it free?
Yes.
Seeing
AI is free.
Okay.
Excellent.
And there's other ones too. There's different ones, but that's probably the best one. And then the only thing that I use is my screen reader. That's really my go-to when it comes to reading my books. Obviously they're put into PDF so that I can read my books. There's really no other type of technology that I use as of now for doing my work, but it just shows that everybody has a different level of how they do things.
Well, I'm really excited, and I'll share with you all. Hopefully you can be evangelists for it too. But we have partnered with a company called Ally that now offers through Ivy Learn the ability to create assistive texts in a lot of different formats. So it will convert things to screen readable text if there's a text format that's not yet screen readable, but it will also convert to, and I don't know that this is something any of you use, but it will convert to the Braille reader so that a Braille, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a little keyboard thing that sits in front of a computer keyboard is where I've seen them, that somebody can read with Braille. What is that called, or do any of you use that?
Like a Braille refreshable screen.
That's it.
Like no dots pop up on them.
Isn't it called a display or something?
Yeah,
like
it's
that?
a Braille display.
Okay. All right.
That's awesome.
I'm a little bit familiar with them. Really used one in the work environment or in college. They're a little bit expensive.
And I'll be honest, I'm looking to get set up with Voc Rehab for when I return to start my new degree. Hopefully I'll be ready, before then, but I'd like to get one of them because I think I would read my books that way, to be honest. I just feel like to me, reading it in Braille, you get it better. I don't know. I guess it depends on the person, but it's definitely an option I want to think about now you brought that up. And I didn't know you guys had that on Ivy Learn at all, but now I do.
It's brand new, and the nice thing about it is instructors, the only thing they have to do is just enable it in their course, and it also this new tool creates a a report for the instructor to explain to them where they have things like images that aren't tagged. So I think we'll hear in a few minutes when you do a demonstration of Zoom what an image sounds like, what a picture sounds like when a screen reader is reading it. And if those aren't properly properly labeled, you don't know what it is. You just know that there's a big box there. And so it'll do a lot of those kinds of things automatically for the instructor and tell them where those things are. That as Johnny and I and Nina were preparing for this episode and just practicing to make sure everything worked the way we want it to, there are a lot of things that we, as sighted people, we just take for granted that because we can see it. And so that's part of what we want to do with today's episode is show some things that other people that you can't see and that you have to see with your ears. So let's actually dive into that. So Johnny, I know you've got a demo set up to show us something or to let us listen to something in JAWS. So would you pull that up? And I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, to start it at a speed that I might be able to understand it at.
Yeah.
And then we'll speed up to the speed at which you listen to it at.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay.
Yep, I can do that. Okay, you want me to slow this down?
Slower. Traditional computer crime, early hackers and...
How's that? I got to slow it down again for you.
Thank you.
Once you navigate off of it, it goes back to the original.
Slower. Chapter outline. Introduction.
Let me go a little bit slower.
Slower.
Okay.
2. Traditional problems. 3. Recognizing and defining computer crime.
So this is just telling me what the chapter is about.
IV. Free incidents. IV. Freakers. Yesterday's hackers.
Now, if you've noticed, I don't know print-wise if it does this or not, but in PDF, sometimes it breaks down the sentences. You see how there's only a couple words per line?
Hey.
That is so frustrating. Not that I needed to let everybody know that, but I just had to tell you.
What is reading?
This is PDF though.
Right.
And when I read it, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do a read all. And what it's going to do is just going to read without me having to arrow down. So let me show you.
Hacking, defining hacking D, evolution in the hacking community C, contemporary motivation D, hierarchy of contemporary cyber.
So see, that just keeps on reading it.
Okay, so let me describe what I'm seeing on the screen. So what that just read to us, this is Roman numeral 6, titled Hacking, and it's an outline that has A through D, defining hacking, evolution in the hacking community. And those are, for me as a sighted person, those are each on a different line like I would expect in an outline in its written form. But for you, that is very time consuming because then you have to line down if you want to read sort of in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And the other thing that can be challenging is if you're reading something and normally it's in like there's 2 different columns, right?
Right.
Or 2 different rows. Well, JAWS won't read it like that. JAWS will, and I've seen this in PDF. So you're going down a list and it'd say 1, and then the next number would jump to like 5, and then the next one would jump to 2, and so on. So it's not reading it to you in the order that it really should because it doesn't know how to define, how do I read that? It doesn't know how to do that. So
it's reading left and right across the page, not in the numeric order. Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly. And that can be challenging too, but it's not something that really slows it. I don't think it slows anybody down, but it's just one of those things that it can be aggravating if you're trying to find a specific word or definition and you got to deal with one of them tables.
Right.
So,
will you go on to the next page? We're on page 51 now. Can you page down to the next page where I think the text probably starts of the chapter? So let's just let it read for a minute. I want folks to actually hear like the introduction, actually hear the text, and then I'll have you speed it up to the speed at which
and I'm going to, because I notice when I do read all, it kind of reads it a little bit faster. So I'm going to slow it down a little bit more.
Slower. Table with 3
There we
columns and
go.
8 rows. Bullet anonymizer. Bullet gray market dealers. Bullet freaking. Bullet black market dealers. Bullet hackers. Bullet script kiddies. Bullet crackers. Bullet activists. Bullet shareware. Bullet cyber criminal. Bullet informational. Bullet software piracy organizations. Voyeurs. Bullet visage. Bullet cyberpunks. Bullet insiders. Bullet where Z. Bullet data piracy.
Will you pause it for just a second, Johnny?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So point out what you're going to point out.
If you notice when it does read all, sometimes JAWS will start to read in a lower tone and then lower and lower and lower. So that's another reason I don't like to use that function, because it can get kind of annoying to have to listen to it do that down pitch.
The other thing I notice, because I can read the words on the screen, is that it was reading bullet and then it would tell you it was on the screen, but it's reading from left to right. So one of the lines it read was bullet cyber criminal, bullet informational, bullet software piracy. And then on the next line it read organizations, voyeurs, bullet, and I can't read what that word is because it's too small, but informational voyeurs actually goes together. That's a term that's together. So that's a good example of that issue you were talking about, where JAWS doesn't always know how to read what's in a column properly. And instead, it would be better if it was all in a list for you going straight up and down, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I say that. And again, I think sometimes some people get confused with it. Why we might say, listen, it's taken me longer to read this chapter because we had to deal with them type of errors on our own. There's nothing we can do to change it. So we have to sometimes stop and try to make sure, okay, is that what it's supposed to be? Is it reading?
Right.
Is it giving me the information that I need? So no matter how fast you read, no matter how good you are, you're going to come across this stuff regardless.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's just, you got to learn to deal with it and move on, but that's all time based. So,
yeah. So let's go ahead and have it start reading again. We're at the introduction now, and let it read for about 30 seconds. And then I want you to speed it up to the speed at which you listen to it at.
Okay.
Introduction. Table end like traditional areas of criminal behavior, a continuum of criminal activity, sophistication, and innovation exist among computer deviants. Ne'er-do-wells in both worlds range from novice to expert. Street criminals who leave a physical trail of evidence in their wake.
Okay, so now, did you understand? Was that slow enough?
It was definitely slow enough for me. The voice, and I'll give my personal thought here. I listen to a lot of audiobooks when I'm in the car, and podcasts, of course. And I usually listen to them at like 1.5 to 1.75 times speed, but they're read in a normal voice. And so the machine reading of that voice is really disconcerting on its own. Like it would take me some time to get used to that.
Yeah. And you can get, I'm not sure what it costs, and Tim, you might be able to touch on this. There's other voices you can get, I think, for JAWS, but I believe that costs extra to have those extra voices, which are really good. I mean, they're very humanized voices, but
yeah,
I believe they cost, if I'm thinking correctly.
We paid for two licenses for JAWS, one in the library, one in the testing center.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're both $1,000 each license. And this was about 2 years ago. And I think we have 3 or 4 different voices to choose from in that package.
Okay.
And yeah, I think you can upgrade with other voices as well.
Right.
We've never taken that step yet.
Usually just eloquence, because I think eloquence, anybody that knows JAWS that's the beginner go-to voice.
Right.
And then the other ones, I'm like you, I like the more human voice, but I guess it falls back on personal preference and stuff.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like you might like a guy voice and then someone else might like a girl voice or an Australian voice that makes sense why, the schools and stuff stick with the basics, because a lot of it's personal preference.
Right. So, okay, Johnny, go ahead and speed it up to the speed at which you would normally listen to it at. Let us listen to that for a minute.
Okay.
Faster. Faster. As stated, chapter 1, the advent of digital communication.
And let me point something else out real quick too about PDF. That right there.
Yep.
I have no idea what that says.
Yeah,
I
those
can slow it
headings.
down.
It pronounced introduction, which was the heading to the previous section, as like introduction, and it had a lot of problem with that. So it's something about the heading and the boldface type that it doesn't like.
It's the only thing I got from it was something problems. Maybe it's trying to say traditional problems.
It is. Yeah, traditional problems.
So, it's those little things though that make a difference, where you stop and you say, okay, I need to hear what that said again. So I think it's about where I'm at.
Okay.
Here we go.
Academic knowledge and the amplification of communication technology have significantly improved the quality of life for many individuals across the country. Wireless technologies have further enhanced mobile connectivity and the production of cloud computing that streamline business operations for countless corporations. However, these advances have not been accomplished without substantial side effects, like their legitimate counterparts. Critical from members of the business boost your augmenting their traditional arsenals and altering their own software and stating claim to this newly created world, unfortunately. So that's
I can't. I didn't understand a word of that.
I just say probably Nina and Jim's thinking, what'd that say? So that's, and even again, yes, do I read fast, at the fast voice? I do, but I still go back and read again because it's so easy to miss something when reading with JAWS, I think. Right. I don't know.
Well, when you're reading something that fast, you have to concentrate on that and that only. If something gets your attention, you're going to lose a big space.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because if you're hearing other things with it, it'd be so easy to just lose some of the stuff that it's saying. So that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. And you don't, how do you all navigate when you're in class? I think about when I'm sitting in a classroom and I want to look at something in the textbook that the instructor might be talking about, just so I might be able to picture something. So do you have to listen to the instructor with maybe one ear and then the computer with a headphone with the other ear? Or do you just have to concentrate on the instructor at that time?
I focus on the instructor because most of the time, from what I've experienced, the instructor is in the front of the room and they've already got material on the board that they're talking about specifically. So there's really not many cases where I even had to pull out my computer. I just focus on what they're talking about, and I'll get out my audio recorder if it's something to do with the quiz, and I'll record them. Now, math is a different story when we're in math. And Jaden, you can touch base on this, on how you do that in math, because I think you do have your book out in math, don't you? Are you looking at your book in math? Or
it's more of a workbook, so no, but the professor sends me the material that's going to be lectured on that week, like a day or two before the day of class, and I just follow along with that.
Okay, so you follow along as she's talking about it, but you've got the printout there with you. And in my case, obviously I can't do that because I can't see the printout. So math is I would say out of any class that I've ever taken, math is probably the biggest challenge for me personally. But because I can't follow along, I can only listen.
Right.
But in that case, we have a tutor and things are working out great. But that's kind of how we do it. How did you do it, Andy, when you was in school?
Oh, I had a tutor that worked with me with the math. Like Johnny said, and Jaden as well, math is definitely the more difficult subject because it's so visual based.
Right. Well, and Andy, as a computer science major, you had to take a lot of math. So
yeah, I did, and it was not easy, but I got through it.
Well, good, very good.
Did you take more than one math class?
Oh yeah, I took several different math classes.
I feel sorry for you. I'm feeling sorry for you right now.
So that's a good segue. This question and this discussion is a good segue. What other obstacles have you experienced? And I was going to talk specifically about Ivy Tech websites and tools. And Johnny, I know you have one specifically to show us, but I would just love to know what other, in general, kind of obstacles you all experience as you're trying to navigate your learning materials at IB Tech?
Well, back when I did my work back in the dinosaur age, well, I was really 03, but they didn't have all these books in PDF form. Actually, I had to take my tutor took the book, photocopied it. I took the photocopy chapters home and used a flatbed scanner with Kurzweil, which is a scanning software program, and scanned it page by page into the computer and studied it that way. In other ways was books on tape as well. Yeah, it was different.
There used to be a big thing then was a lot of stuff on tape.
Right.
A lot of stuff.
That is not really that easy to.
Today, for me, I'm glad I don't have to do what Andy had to do here, scanning every page. I'm thankful. And I think I respect you more for the hard work that you had to do because that's I can't even imagine. It
wasn't really hard. It was just a time consuming.
Yeah. But for me, it's PDF is really big to me in my classes, and then sometimes online as well. If there's something online, maybe we've got to go to. My thing that I have a challenge with is when we had to navigate away from IB Tech. IB Tech, I've got that page memorized.
Right.
Like I know where I'm going, even on the areas that aren't labeled, which they're going to see in a little bit here. I still have it memorized, but going to a new page totally off of IB Tech that I don't have memorized and that might not be accessible is a huge roadblock because sometimes web pages refresh. Sometimes there's a lot of different scenarios. Are there graphics involved where the graphics is, some web pages, how you see a graphic, but it's got writing in with it. So anything like that, if it's like a picture, but it's got the writing with it, JAWS will not read that. So there's situations like that. And then I don't know about Jaden as far as roadblocks. Do you have anything that is challenging for you or what is?
Not really. No, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have vision to work with, and I'm very grateful for that. So with me, it's more so just as long as I have some sort of magnification, I'm usually okay with getting done whatever needs to be done.
Awesome.
Good. All right. So, Johnny, I know that you're going to show us and let us hear one of the challenges on our website. And I want to call attention to something you said while you're pulling that up, is that you had to memorize our website. So I'll just use an example of in online classes, when faculty members have different menus in online classes, for somebody like you, if they're not labeled clearly, and I know you and I talked about, you started here just as we moved to Canvas, and Blackboard was really challenging for you, but Canvas has been much easier. When we change those things, it messes with what you have memorized.
Yes, and it can be one little thing can completely, maybe not that you guys do this, but let's say that you guys maybe take a menu and you move it to the bottom instead of having it at the top. It might take us an hour to figure out that, it's at the bottom.
Right.
So, okay, wonderful.
All right. So let me describe for everybody what you're showing. So Johnny's got the My Ivy screen up, and his cursor right now is sitting at the home menu on the left-hand navigation bar. And Johnny, you're going to sort of talk us through and let us hear what the challenge is that you encounter here, which we left it this way after you showed me the demo. I'm going to get it fixed for you so that what you're experiencing doesn't happen, but we want folks to understand what the challenge is that you face.
And I really appreciate that. And I know other people will as well, because some people might not have, I'm not saying I'm like the perfect person with patience, but some people might not have that same amount of patience. And, I like to bring it to people's attention when I see these things, because I don't want them to go through what I went through. That's the whole purpose of the group, is to kind of, put that out there and help people. I'm going to slow this down for you guys.
Thank you.
Because otherwise you're not, it's like, what is it saying? So let's go a little slower.
Slower.
Okay.
Navigation region. List of 1 items. Visited link graphic home community.
Okay, so now I'm on the home community. I don't know if that's a link or what that, the way I'm seeing it, like it's right above where the menus are. I don't know how you guys see it.
That's
but it
correct.
says,
Link graphic home community.
says home community. Is that a link? I'm guessing.
It's a link that'll always take you back to the home page if you're on other pages. So the navigation bar on the left is static. It never moves. So that'll always take you back to the home screen.
Oh, okay. So that's basically takes you back to where we are now.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Now here is the part that we want to show you guys that obviously Ivy Tech was unaware. I mean, they're not going to put this stuff up there. If they knew that it was inaccessible, you guys wouldn't have it up there. I know that much. So this is where it is.
Menu.
And I believe there's going to be 5 of them. Let's count them. There's 1,
Menu.
2,
Menu.
3,
Menu.
4,
Menu.
5,
Menu.
no,
Menu.
6.
List end.
So there's 6 of them.
Right. Yes.
And, you know, I know how to navigate that, but I had to memorize it. And I still don't have it fully memorized, but because I know on like one menu, if you click it, it'll just automatically open up your email, because I think that's what it's for, is your mail.
That's Gmail. Yep. That's right.
You know, the second menu down, it gives you options. And let me give you an example.
List of visit menu.
So if I hit spacebar on the second menu right here, now I can tab.
Leaving menus, student dashboard link.
And now I can see my student dashboard, the financial aid, all that stuff. But not every menu is like that.
Right.
Some of them will automatically open up another window, which I'm guessing, like you said, one is Gmail, so it's just going to open up Gmail.
Right.
So that's where the roadblock is, so to speak. I mean, not fully, not if you got it memorized, but again, will another student have the patience to deal with that, or will they even know what to do?
Right.
So that's why I always say when whether it's me or someone else, you notice this stuff, you guys can't fix it unless you're told. You know, so it's like if there's a roadblock, just let Ivy Tech know and they'll fix it.
That's right. That's right.
Or do their best.
And that's exactly what I'm going to try to do right after we end recording today. So hopefully by the time this episode airs, which will probably be in mid-March, that will be fixed and you won't have to worry about that anymore. So very good. Well, John.
Let me bring it up real quick, just real fast.
Yeah.
Before you guys started the new Ivy Learn, the Blackboard, that was a totally different system, I'm guessing. Because when I saw it before I registered for college, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't read none of this. So I'm really thankful for Ivy Learn. I'm just saying, I'm just putting that out there right now.
Andy, what was your experience with Blackboard?
I really didn't use it that much at all, because I think it was just coming into play back when I graduated.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of it.
Was Blackboard like Ivy Learn, or was it totally different?
It's very similar in what it does. The interesting thing when you made that comment to me when we talked last week, Blackboard had the highest standard ranking from the National Federation for the Blind for many years. And so it's interesting to me that your experience with it was much different.
Yeah, it was. And maybe it was just a version and that's another thing. If you don't have the right version of JAWS, if JAWS is a screen reader to where you got to keep it updated with times, if it's 2020, don't be using JAWS as 2013, because it's probably not going to work that good.
Going to have problems.
Right.
JAWS is just one of them things you got to keep it updated. And that could have been the case for that too. So
yeah, probably so. So what else is Stand up to as we wrap up the episode here today? What else is Stand up to right now?
We're working on coming up with some ideas for some events that we have spoke about a little bit. Maybe having a game or two, possibly. I think we talked about doing a cornhole thing. We're trying to find a beeper so we can put behind the boards.
Oh, fun.
To where, with that beeper there, we can kind of aim
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
the
everybody can be blindfolded, so
and everybody
I
gets
love
blindfolded. Yeah. So that's,
Awesome.
I think Barb was going to look for a beeper. And so that's kind of still, in the air. We're trying to work it out. And our other big thing is just really letting the students know that we're here, that, no matter if it's in, Indianapolis or wherever it is, we're here and they can join. And, the last thing we want to see a student do is give up because they're stressed out or they feel like they can't do it. So
Excellent.
hopefully we can make a difference.
Excellent. Well, and we end every episode with a call to action. So I'll remind folks of that call to action. They can actually connect with you for STAND through Ivy Life. So if there are folks who are interested in being engaged, you don't have to be on the Madison campus. You can be there. You can be on any campus and can be engaged with STAND through that. And I remember that correctly, Nina? I want to make sure I say that correctly.
That is correct.
All
We've
right.
got video, Ivy Learn, and everything.
Excellent. Very good. Very good.
And, just to add real quick too, is if you just want to be a member to help us and you don't have a disability or any challenges, we have a few people that are fully sighted, but it's okay to have more people to help because sometimes we might have a big event and, one person can't lead everybody. The more help, the better.
Absolutely.
So anybody can join.
Absolutely. Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for joining this episode of Our College Your Voices. And I want to give a special thanks to the members of our panel today, Johnny and Andy and Jaden. It was great to connect with you again and through the power of technology to get to see you again. And Nina and Tim, thank you again for supporting and helping the STAND group and everything you do on the Madison campus. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. You can connect with me on Twitter at KNM Tweets. I'm going to give Johnny producer credits for this episode. He did a lot of work with me to help test it, Nina as well. So thank you to both of you for helping to produce this episode. You can reach us by email at ourcollegeyourvoices@ivytech.edu. If there are questions you have for the STAND group, I think that they'd be happy to come back on and do another episode. I'm sort of volunteering you for that. But if you have questions you'd like for us to discuss with them, please send them to us by email. You can also leave us a voicemail at 317-572-5049, or you can join our Microsoft Teams listener community if you're an Ivy Tech faculty or staff member. You can ask questions there. We would love to have that. Our website is ivytech.edu/podcast. Production assistance for this and every episode provided by Becky Campbell, Sarah Ferguson, and the Ivy Tech Community College marketing team. Our podcast concept is by Matthew Pittman. Our theme music and our post-production services today are provided by Jen Edds, the Brassy Broadcasting Company. And Johnny and I provided recording services today. So we will talk to you all next time on Our College, Your Voices.